diarrhea. Before his September hospital visit, he had excessive amount of blood in his kidney bags, and his kidney doctor had gave him some very, very high antibiotic. As a matter of fact, his hemoglobin and red blood count was low in April, and according to this paper, it was ordered by you, but whatever,
it was 9.9.
Anyway, he had excessive amount of blood in his kidney bag, so the kidney doctor gave him a very, very high dose of antibiotics prior to having his tubes removed, you know, to get that cleared up. And then he ended up in the hospital shortly after that, and then that's when the tubes come out. His Fidelity nurse called out here yesterday and talked to the nurse that I just talked to a minute ago that came in here. And they spoke and said something about possible C. diff because he still has diarrhea. So that's why we're here today.
He's had diarrhea for 1 week.
I was made to come in because the nurse called me and said, hey, he has diarrhea, what do you want to do? Mm-hmm. Well, he tested positive for C. diff in the hospital.
And see, that's another thing, they didn't tell us that.
Yeah, we didn't know that. That was first we've ever heard about it.
Yeah, so he tested positive. They treated him with, that's what the metronidazole was for that he was taking.
What was that in September when he was diagnosed with that?
Yeah, it was the recent hospitalization.
The recent one, yeah. Which would be September, okay.
Because he had diarrhea, so they got a C. diff, and it was positive. So, but that's why he's supposed to follow up here too. I know he had a follow up, and then it was canceled via my chart. He was supposed to see Dr. Robinson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wanted to come out sooner, but I was never made it. Diarrhea, a little better than what it was.
But you're still having it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's been worse the last few days?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to have to treat him with something else. And it's going to be something that I'm going to have to call the kidney doctor and see what dose, because we're going to have to put him on vancomycin. Vancomycin is processed through the kidneys, so we're going to have to make sure we give him a dose that's appropriate for his kidneys, but appropriate to treat him. That's usually first-line therapy, so we use a lot of Flagyl, which is what he was just on, the metronidazole, on it for 12 days. Okay, great. If that's not getting better, we need to switch up the antibiotic to like a vancomycin, which treats this too.
Yeah, I know the flag. What's it called?
Flagyl.
Yeah, that kind of helps, but that obviously.
Yeah, and when we get recurrence, which we can't, sometimes it helps for the time being, and then after being off of it for 3 or 4 days, it can come back. Okay, we don't retest for C. diff because C. diff is going to be positive for at least 6 to 8 weeks, even after treatment. Mm-hmm. So there's no way we can retest him to see if he still has it. We assume he still has it based on the symptoms. It's getting worse. Okay, we need to treat him. So
now, can you do me a favor and tell him the medications that he is on a regular basis is not caused by diarrhea?
Yeah. Because
he took them for a long time, and he says it's the medication.
The one that Robinson gave him, it's a little blue, and I don't know if you know the color, but it's a little blue, like the
it starts with an M.
The Prozac. He swears up and down that's what gave him diarrhea, but no.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, your diarrhea is definitely from C. diff, especially being tested positive. Now, if you had a negative stool culture, negative everything else, okay, maybe we pursue that. But with a positive C. diff culture, that's going to be what's causing your diarrhea.
How contagious is that?
C. diff is very contagious. That's why we used to keep him in isolation, and when we had him in hospitals, it's becoming more and more common. Like I've seen plenty of C. diff patients this year. It's a pretty serious infection of the colon, so that's why we treat it and make sure he's resolving at least with the symptoms. A lot of times, if we can't get this resolved, even with the next antibiotics, we'll have to either send him to an infectious disease doctor or a GI. Sometimes they have to do, in like bad cases, they'll have to, basically what they can do is do a stool transplant. Sounds weird, but they take stool from someone else and they repopulate your flora in your colon with it.
Gotcha.
So occasionally we have to do that, and we're having more and more resistance with C. diff. Again, bacteria change over time, and normal antibiotics we treat people with, they can become resistant to, and that's what we're running into.
Right, which means now if he was to catch a cold or something and he comes in and you give him antibiotics, it's really not going to work for him, right?
Well, it depends on how much he was treated in the past, but the hard part that we're going to have to run into is giving him antibiotics that won't cause C. diff, and a lot of them do.
Mm.
So I don't know if he was on an antibiotic recently in the hospital. We can get it from the hospital.
He just got done with antibiotics.
Yes, but
Yeah.
he probably had diarrhea before he was on that antibiotic. I'm guessing, right?
He's had diarrhea for a week now.
Well,
Right, but he obviously had it in the hospital because they tested
yeah,
it.
he had it in September.
So
Which ultimately goes back to the medication, the very, very strong antibiotic that the kidney
do you know what
doctor.
they gave him?
Should
Or do
have
you
it
know
on
when
that
that
hospital
was?
paper that they sent home.
No, because David went and picked it up. It was called in.
Yeah, but they should have it on the hospital paper.
It's not. Well, it wouldn't have been on that because they didn't give it to him from the hospital.
Mm.
This is the first antibiotic. They said it was very, very strong antibiotic, and it was for 7 days. Let me just make sure.
That's from Laurel's.
I mean, it cleared up his urine from straight blood in his bags to yellow in 2 days. His handicap sticker is good until 2019.
Okay. Yeah, so again, I'm going to have to make some calls here, kind of see what dose. Your last kidney function, the reassuring thing was better. The last one they did, his GFR was up to 37, which is much improved from where you were. So I might be able to use a regular dose of vancomycin. Again, I want to make sure with your kidney doctor. Do you still seeing Dr. Dorr, or who are you seeing? Or Dr. Amula?
Yeah, that's not it. He's seeing Dr. Yu.
Dr. Yu.
Okay.
There's the other one.
This is the flagell that he's talking about for the
Oh.
C. diff.
So Dr. Yu's a urologist.
Yeah.
He sees a kidney doctor too, right?
He wanted to operate on it, wasn't
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the one that did everything.
So
for us.
urologists will do operations. They do all the procedures for the kidneys and ureters and bladder and all that. Nephrologists manage kidney function. So you saw let's see here. You saw Dr. Dorr in June. Do you remember seeing Dr. Dorr?
I think you were YMCA.
Yeah.
Yes, she was the one for your kidney issue, which once we see them for that they manage that. And your anemia is from your kidneys. You have chronic kidney disease, very common to get anemia from chronic kidney disease because your kidneys control erythropoietin, which is what stimulates you to make more hemoglobin red blood cells. So that's why he gets anemic, is because of his kidney function, but we should be seeing a nephrologist because of that.
Okay, is there a nephrologist? Do you know if there is one in Dr. Yu's office?
They're all urologists in Dr. Yu's office because he works for a urology group.
All right. Well, we can.
So I can call Dr. Dorr and see. We should probably be seeing her on a routine basis.
Well, I didn't go to that appointment, but I just know that. She was talking about stage 4 kidney failure and really didn't do nothing for him.
Right. We don't give meds to treat kidney disease, unfortunately.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about giving meds. She just basically said possibly stage 4 kidney failure, blah, blah, blah. And then, when was that appointment?
That was in June.
A couple weeks later, he was near death.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a clear report from her at all, period, at that doctor's office.
All right. So let me make a phone call either to her office. We're